one.
These days, I'm gonna figure out if I can actually watch like the stream of like my watch.
That'd be cool. Yeah, you should figure that one out. That's actually pretty dope. I gotta do one more thing. Almost ready, guys. If you're watching, give me a minute.
Get the whole thing.
That one.
I need a fucking sip. Hold on, I'm gonna take you too, man.
Take a breather. I feel you.
That's a lot of books, man.
It is.
I'm glad.
I always commend you guys for always doing it, especially on, whether shipment shows up on time or late.
Do you have the sign out?
Let me get it.
Juice, you have the sign out. All right.
I make it so that way it's kind of like
Don't be coughing.
No, I went down the wrong place. That's where I'm fine. It went down the
Okay.
wrong way.
Okay. Talk shows and podcasts. We're gonna rotate that, and I think we've got it. All right. So, do mask off so that the deaf community can read my lips because I can't sign fast enough. So yeah, we are going to be doing comic reviews for the week of 10/20. So Green Machine friends and fans of fun. What's been going on? What should we talk about?
Call of Duty tonight. You're gonna be on it for some zombies.
I might be on it for some zombies. I might play some Hades too because my Hades stream yesterday was amazing. But yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of comic reviews. Do we have any pop culture news? DC dropped UCS over the weekend. Cam told us that. Which, if you've been using Lunar, it kind of makes sense because Lunar has been just absurdly above and beyond the best shipping in comics that I think we've used. We've had one damaged book in 6 months so far. So one damaged book and nothing missing. Which if Diamond Comics gave us a shipment with one damaged book and nothing missing, we would throw a party.
We did. We had that one time.
Oh,
One time.
well, one time. It happened one time.
About 2 years.
Yeah. So, and you're going to see it with our books this week because some of the books showed up and there is no way that this book in particular was damaged during shipping. So they had to I'll show it to you. It's a nightmare. But that's just what we deal with being comic shop owners. What else was going on this week? Pop culture news, anything, anyone?
Yeah.
Disneyland.
Disney.
Oh, Disney's
Disney
closed.
And Universal are probably not going to be opening up for the rest of the year.
Well, only 3 months left in the rest of the year. I'm not
Going
really
well into the
surprised.
middle of 2020.
I mean, you guys see me with my mask off right here, but everyone around me is wearing masks and 6 feet away, and I mean, it just makes sense. Like Europe is so overloaded right now with coronavirus that people got to be careful. And I understand I'm not wearing a mask right now and doing a live stream, but normally I wear a mask all the time. So what else?
Anything going with 5G? Oh, who's that? No, that's not.
Oh, Power Rangers is getting a show, a TV series, and a movie
Power
tie
Rangers.
in together. They're
Really?
making their own cinematic universe with a show and a movie.
Which they should. They
It makes
absolutely
sense.
should. I mean, Power Rangers is, my God, has been going on for so long.
Especially with the success of the Shattered Grid storyline
Yeah.
and the Dragon and everything.
Oh man, if they could tell Shattered Grid, that'd be great. But okay, I don't know how you would tell it. You need to explain a lot of the different generations at the same time.
True.
So but yeah, so that's been going on. I'm trying to think of other comic news, and I can't really place any.
There's something else. I can't think of.
The Boys is over. What are you watching right now?
I just finished The Boys.
Oh, somebody talked me into watching this show called it's based on a British show about a comic book that predicts the future and is real. And oh God, I can't remember the name of it. But I watched it and the American version was horrible. It was hideous. Yeah, it was there was no. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's called Utopia. And
I have heard of that show.
okay, so here's the thing. I looked up the British show, and the British show is very sort of subtle in how it explains things, which is fine, and that's probably what you want out of stuff. But the American version is the opposite of subtle, and it's horrible. Like if somebody shoots somebody in the face, they go, "You murdered her." If somebody bites, they're biting me. At one point, a dude gets tortured and has his like eye carved out. And when he fights his friends, like he's like, they tortured me and cut my eye out with a spoon. I'm like, why? Like, why do you have to like state everything? It's the worst part about it is like that's like American cinema. It spells everything out like that because like comics and other media are not like that. Like
No.
especially comics. Like
Yeah.
comics love being subtle with sort of that stuff. So it sucks. I would recommend the British version because I started with that and that seems pretty good so far. Let's jump into it, and I'm gonna start with DC this week. We're gonna start with Justice League, and if you can't tell, that's Nightwing. I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't tell because Dark Knight's death metal has changed everyone's look. But that's Nightwing, Lex Luthor, Hawkgirl, Starfire, and Cyborg. And yes, they look very messed up and well metal. And it's no secret that this is and Detective Chimp's in there. This is kind of their B team, I guess you could say. At one point, Detective Chimp very plainly says, like, we're not the Justice League. We are clearly being set up to be the Suicide Squad. Like, wow. The last issue found them stuck in the Valley of the Starros, where I think we made the joke that in the Valley of the Starros, the starfish with one eye is king. So you don't wander into the Valley of the Starros and not expect something bad to happen. So it's good. It's not great. It's not the best of the Dark Knight's death metal series. It's okay at best. But again, it's Williamson filling in for Snyder. So, yeah. Next is the Joker War Collateral Damage Nightwing, issue number 75, extra sized. Let's discuss a little bit spoilery everything that they fix. New Nightwings. You want them there or do you want them gone? You get your wish. The new suit that looks ridiculous. You want it there or gone? Did you like the new suit? Yeah, I hated the new suit. The one that would look like red, white, and blue. The new, no, that's gone. You can tell from the cover that's gone. But what you also get in this issue that is rather touching is remember that of all the Bat family that were impacted by Alfred's death and their final like talks with Alfred, Rick then, Dick now, was probably his was the most negative because he couldn't remember Alfred and he couldn't remember that life and just didn't have any association with it. And now that his memory is back, well, he's sort of haunted by that and he's got to, address the situation. And that's very, very touching and it's good writing. Jurgens has really kind of hit his stride and I'm glad he's finally fixing what went wrong with Nightwing last year, which someone said it might have been Dan DiDio that was at the helm of all those choices. And I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to say it. I actually like Dan DiDio. So, but I kind of wonder because it was just a bunch of really bad choices against Nightwing. Anyways, so it's better now. It's better. If you're a Nightwing fan, come back. Next is Teen Titans, and this is Thompson, Marino, Smith, and Hi-Fi. It says, where's Damian? Obviously, we got a Jonathan Kent in play, and it's future Jonathan Kent, and he's a bit upset. They're trying to find Damian, but the problem with tracking down Damian Wayne is you only find him when he wants you to find him. He's Damian Wayne. You can't track him down. Nobody's ever tracked him down unless he's wanted them to. So yeah, it's good. It's Teen Titans getting back to their stride, and they're sort of coming to the conclusion that they really don't need Damian to be a Teen Titans team. And that makes sense because we all know that Damian's kind of given up the Robin mantle and something else is coming. And they haven't said what, but we're all kind of waiting to see. Just please don't make it a brown costume and have him call himself Wayne.
Oh, I think
that was a Drake.
Else, to be honest.
Oh, no, but that was the Drake reference. What do you think?
Well, Future State Red
Oh.
Red X is supposed to be coming in.
Okay, maybe. Maybe. That Future State stuff looks so good. I'm fully on board. I can't wait. But again, DC fanatic, you know. Next is Katana Collins, Sean Murphy. Oh, by the way, it's good. It's really good. Come pick it up. Probably should have said that. Next is Katana Collins, Sean Murphy, Matteo Scalera, Dave Stewart, and we're talking about Batman White Knight presents Harley Quinn. Now, this is the book that I had no idea I absolutely wanted. And as someone who is, I'm more of a Batman fan, obviously, than Harley Quinn. I like Harley. She's not my favorite. I guess we can count her as the family now, can't we? We kind of can after yeah. So she's not really my favorite member of the family, but she's one of them. I mean, I do like her. But what I didn't know is that we were going to get a detective Harley Quinn story in this, and that's what we're getting. Because in the current Curse of the White Knight universe, Bruce Wayne is locked up, and Jack Napier is dead, full-blown dead, as far as we know. And right now they're trying to track down a serial killer, and so they tap Harley and Quinzel, which it works surprisingly well. It feels gritty. It feels perfect. And although you do see her wearing the Harley Quinn clown outfit at the end, I think we're getting a different kind of tale here, and it's great. So I can't wait to see where they go with this. And I will say, in a new age of villains, only Harley can save Gotham. That's wild. I will say that as a DC Comics fanboy, this was super exciting this week. Almost my pick of the week for DC, almost. But there was a couple other books, this one in particular, the Robin King. What do we know about Robin King? It was very strange, right? His ascension, because he was like shouting crow, crow, crow. And then the Batman Who Laughs put a crown on him, like gave him a crown. And then all of a sudden he's like talking and being like full-blown animated, like villain and over the top. And it was never quite explained as to how that happens. You get that here. You get the whole origin story of the Robin King, which is awesome, actually. He picks apart a bunch of the heroes for his universe in the most sinister of ways. And as a character, I will say that he's got a whole mythos that is like just heroes are fake. Like, I don't align with that. It's very The Boys is what it feels like. So I really honestly love this issue. The art was great. We knew from previewing this stuff that the art was going to be good. This is Tomasi, Patrick Rosmo, Sampier Placencia, and Albaran, and it's great. Really good showing. Maybe one of my favorite of the Dark Knight's Death Metal books, aside from the mainline stuff. So don't skip on this. It was amazing. And I understand that everyone loved that. Well, it sold out. The Legends of the Dark Knight book sold out on our shelves. And the reason being, it was the first appearance of Robin King. But I think as far as the Dark Knight's book goes, it was not my favorite. It felt like, although that villain was cool, the rest of it was really campy. Like, really campy. Yeah, it felt like they made Batman villains out of the Batman. Which they did, but it was super campy, and I don't know.
They hit fire that first time, Dawnbreaker and everyone.
They did.
Yeah.
They honestly did. So, like, the second one, I don't know, man. Leading with B-Rex did not.
No.
That wasn't good. But it is what it is. Oh, yeah, Ethan, what's up? Next is Batman 101, and this is From the Ashes of the Joker War, A New Day. And we're going to talk about this because we know that Catwoman actually gave all of Bruce's money to Lucius Fox. Like, that's what the end state was. And if she did that, the reasoning was that Bruce wanted that to happen. We all kind of agree on that Bruce wanted that to happen. He wanted it to be in the hands of Lucius Fox. Now, is the reasoning for that because Lucius Fox was tortured at the hands of Joker and Punchline? Maybe. Or maybe, Batman felt partially responsible. Or maybe he just felt like he couldn't be that kind of Batman anymore. And all of these things are sort of like bled into and hinted at and sort of explained as Bruce actually goes to talk to Lucius in this issue. And yes, people know that Grifter is in this issue, so we're gonna get a Grifter scene, and it's pretty good. It's a good Batman, but you're not gonna get a lot of action out of this one. It's setting the stage for a different Batman, one that we're not used to, and it's awesome. It's good, but again, giant Batman fan. I should have the bat signal tattooed on my back. So we all know that if I say a Batman book is good, I'm kind of a fanboy. So you might take it with a grain of salt, and if you're a Marvel fan, you probably don't want to dip your toes in some Batman anyway. So, anyways, DeConnick, Mendocha, I don't know, and Ferrado Jr. And this, of course, is Aquaman. Wow, Ferrado Jr. I always get him mixed up with Romita Jr. Because Ferrado Jr. I actually don't mind his art. He does pretty good art. But Romita Jr. is the one that I'm not a fan of. He's the one doing Action Comics, right? Right now? I think so. Yeah, I think it's Romita Jr. He's the one that I'm like, I don't like his art all that much. But this is Aquaman 64, and well, stop me if you've heard this one before. Orm is trying to steal the power away in Atlantis. Because that's what Orm does. Orm needs to get a new shtick and a new hobby. Like, eventually, about the 25th time you've tried to steal power, take up skiing, man. Like, it's not working. But, yes, we do get that. MLB.com player Lucius Fox. Oh, Ethan linked me that there's a player named Lucius Fox. Wouldn't surprise me. It's such a pimp name. But, okay, so this Aquaman in particular, we're going to see how future stuff plays out for Atlantis, and it's not quite what we think. It's actually kind of cool. I had a good time with it. There was plenty of action. Yes, okay, Orm is doing what Orm does. We all know what's going to happen with the Ocean Master, but we do get a really kick-ass fight in this, and on top of that, a really kind of kick-ass way to change Atlantis, probably for the good. So I say don't skip on this if you're a DC fan. It was really good. And I'm saying that as someone who's not as big an Aquaman fan as Cam back there is. Next is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Presents, and this is the Archie horror line. And this centers around Madam Satan. Now, if you know the Sabrina TV show, you know she's probably most folks' favorite character. I think she's Yogi's favorite character. And if you know the Sabrina Archie horror line, or I think was it Archie horror? Yeah, it was Archie horror back then. And then it became Archie Madhouse, or was it Madhouse first?
When we opened the store,
it was Madhouse. But if you know the Archie horror Sabrina line, it goes different directions, but it's very much akin to the TV show. So that's what you're getting. You're getting that character commanding hell and sort of coming to the conclusion that, you know, maybe what is the line? Weary is the head that wears the crown type stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of what you're getting here. And I'm not going to say the way it goes, but I will say the art. My God, the art. Who worked on this? Rahal, Oda, Herms, and Morelli. The art is just absurdly good. It's very much in vein with that other Archie, Sabrina horror line. It's good. I had a good time with it. The art was really the selling point on this. The story's pretty good, but the art just kind of blew me away. So don't skip this if you're a Sabrina fan. Absolutely don't skip this. This is your October Sabrina right here. We're supposed to get a TV show, aren't we?
Yeah, it's October.
Should, right?
Sabrina, but
we're supposed to get an October one, and then we're supposed to get a Christmas one, right? Usually. Next is, and I'm holding the Stegman variant here. We're talking about Venom. I think I actually have 2 copies in this file. But, our mainline Venom has all entirely sold out. I think we have like 1 copy left. And Diamond Comics themselves hit us up today saying that, oh, we didn't send your Venom in your shipment. And then we cracked open the shipment and it was there. So, what? But we have, if you are a subscriber or you special ordered Venom, you will get a copy. If you are not a subscriber, you will have to settle for a Stegman variant, of which there are 2. And if otherwise than that, you're probably not getting it from us. We don't have a lot of copies to go around, and for good reason. This is it's building towards the wrap up of the what was it called, Venom Beyond. Venom Beyond. So it's an alternate reality Venom where it's very Orwellian and feels like Batman Beyond Future, except everyone is symbiotes. And I don't mean they have symbiotes. I mean everyone is actually symbiotes being controlled by Codex. And it was revealed that Codex was Eddie Brock's son of that universe, Dylan. And then on top of that, we got Agent Venom in play. And who was Agent Venom? Who was Agent Venom in this universe? Annie. Yeah, Annie was so Brock's significant other. So wow, what a tangled mess. But what do you get in this story? You get Agent Venom. You get Peter Parker in a symbiote, which again is weird. And you get you get Venom Pool because Deadpool's in play too. So it's great. It's great. This issue's pretty good. Mostly this is backstory on Annie and Dylan of their universe and how things went down. And Parker definitely has issues with symbiotes. That comes to play in this. But I had a good time. The art is great and the writing is amazing. But again, you know the team. I mean, we're dealing with Donny Cates and Stegman and Luke Ross. And so it's just a really good showing, and there's not much to complain about here. The Venom line is, if you're a Marvel fan, I always say that like Thor, Venom, and Immortal Hulk are just the best titles on our shelves. And I'm sure if you're a Marvel fan, you're reading all of them. And if you're a Marvel fan, let's talk about something else you should be reading. This is Al Ewing, Marcio, I think it's Marcio Takara and Federico Blee, and we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, the Empire Aftermath. And the team is sort of struggling with the fact that Peter Quill is dead, as far as they know, is dead. But the person who's taking it the hardest, of course, is Rocket. Rocket's kind of struggling. And meanwhile, the team itself has gone through some changes. We got some new characters, some new cast, and they're sort of trying to play well. There's Marvel Boy and Hercules, and then, Moondragon and Phyla Vale were on the last team, and Rocket and Groot. So this new team it's pretty good. I'm having a really good time with this. But again, I'm kind of a fan of all of these characters, save for Hercules. I've never been a giant Hercules fan.
He's cool in Avengers No Road Home.
Yeah, he was good in No Road Home. Like I don't mind.
I like that because it pertains to the story, but they're not really fighting the gods anymore.
No, they're not. He's just sort of along for the ride, which makes sense for a Guardians team because they always have like a mixed bag of characters. But this is really, really good writing. Again, though, it's Al Ewing of Immortal Hulk fame, so there's not going to be a time where pretty rarely do I ever pick up a Ewing book and go, I'm not a fan of this. That doesn't happen. He writes extremely well. The art is great. There's nothing to complain about with this art. And if you're a Guardians fan, I really think you should jump in on this new team. It feels like a really good team, in my opinion. So check it out. The last team was very dysfunctional with Cosmic Ghost Rider and God, who all was on it? They were all butting heads. Moondragon was on it. Beta Ray Bill, yeah. It was, I don't know what it was, man. Maybe too many Type A personalities on one team. It just got kind of wild. Next is Peter David, German Peralta, Dale Keown, Jesus Obertov, and Jason Keith. And we are talking about Maestro. Maestro, if you don't know, is an alternate timeline Hulk. And this is kind of his origin story after he wakes up and what he's dealing with. And he's come to find that there's somebody calling themselves Maestro, and that character is actually, Hercules. Again, not a huge Hercules fan, but that's weird. And then he's got to catch up with old Rick Jones, so we'll see how it goes. I will say this Maestro, I have a newfound appreciation for Maestro after dealing with the highly intelligent Devil Hulk. So I'm kind of digging this character, but I'm still gonna wait and see. It's Apocalypse Hulk is what you're getting here, and we'll see where it goes. He's definitely more brutal than anything else. Next is Jim Zub. Oh, and I'd say if you're a Hulk fan, if you're a Immortal Hulk fan, pick this up, but don't expect it to be the same brand as Immortal Hulk. It's pretty good. But yeah, Jim Zub, it still doesn't hold a candle to the Immortal Hulk. But what does these days? What does? Jim Zub, Roge Antonio and Israel Silva, and we're talking about, wow, 50 years of Conan at Marvel? Has it been there 50 years? Wow, okay. We're talking about Conan, issue 15. Conan, for once, doesn't have to deal with a blood god. Hooray! Because Conan's list of problems is blood god, drinking, blood god, chauvinism, blood god, drinking, blood god. That's always his problems. If you've ever read a Conan, he's always dealing with them or their cults. In this instance, he is still dealing with a cult, sort of. I guess a religion that they have a giant arena fight, and if you win the arena fight, you get to go inside the earth and fight something called the Crucible. He's been dealing with that for a few issues. And he climbs out. And what would Conan do if he won a Crucible and is standing in front of a statue of these? Why are you playing this? What was that? What is going on here? That's creepy. Okay. What would Conan do if he was standing in front of a statue of a god that he got tricked into competing with? What do you think?
He would fight the statue. No?
Probably. And he might piss people off, but that's Conan's way.
What's the problem with you?
So it's good. It's really, really good. I had a great. Oh, thank you for the follow. That's what the noise was. Thank you for the follow. Santa Lucio. I probably completely butchered your name. That's what I do, man. I'm sorry. Drive by. Hello, Al. So as far as Conan issues are concerned, this was top notch. I had a really, really good time with it, but it feels like Conan. For once, he's not dealing with a blood god, which I don't know how I feel about that. What is Conan the Barbarian without a blood god to kill? I don't know. But I did have a good time with it. It's definitely Barbarian in prime form. Granted, it's not the new Conan that's in the Marvel Universe, but it's still the new Conan that's on the shelf. It's good. Next is King Tank Girl, Martin and Parson. And I will say, as far as an Albatross book goes, Tank Girl is pretty darn good. I like Tank Girl quite a bit, and Sub Girl, and Jet Girl, and there's a girl. There are good characters. The art, though, in particular, was really good. They've stepped it up, and the old Tank Girl stuff feels really gritty, and the new Tank Girl stuff feels very cartoony, which it feels right for a Tank Girl, in my opinion. It just feels different. Maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. I don't know. But in this particular one, it involves her going to jolly old England. And I won't spoil it for you, but eventually she sort of takes the mantle of king, but it's Tank Girl, so she's taking the mantle. She's kind of destroying stuff in the process, and that's what you get. It's good. It's good. If you're a Tank Girl fan, you won't be disappointed. If you're anyone else, this is the perfect book to jump in on it, but you really have to know these characters. If you want to read something that doesn't offend you, if you're looking for a book that doesn't offend you, look elsewhere, because the jokes are a bit over the top at times in Tank Girl. Next, and I'm holding the variant edition because this is the edition that came folded and messed up, and that is X-Men issue number 13, and it's really good. This one, last time we found out that Apocalypse had been injured in that fight into, what's the name of the place? I always pronounce it wrong. Akaro? Araco?
Yeah, Carl.
It's I can't, the alternate of Krakoa. And pretty much he got messed up there. He really, really messed up by his children. And then was dragged back, and they sort of threw him in the healing garden, and he didn't know if he'd make it. And that's where this picks up. But you can tell from the cover that Apocalypse has a sword, so he's probably competing in the contest of is it called it's called like the Champions Conquest or something? Yeah, but they're all using swords. Obviously, of course, his sword is going to be a scimitar because he comes from sort of ancient Egypt as part of his origin. So, yeah, that's what you get. I've probably spoiled too much of it. It's good. There's good monologues. The art is great. You won't be disappointed, but really, would you be disappointed with any of the X-Men stuff on the shelf these days? Probably not. It's been really good. And this is also good. We won't have this variant on the shelf until we either press this out, but it'll be out later this week. The main line will, however, be out. We've got a few copies left, so come pick them up. Next is Ryan Ferrier, Moratat, and Casey Silver, and we're talking about Rat Queens. Now, it has been a minute, a couple of minutes since we reviewed Rat Queens. The team has gone through some changes. Some of them have given up drinking. They've actually, in this issue in particular, which, if you know Rat Queens is essentially a bunch of gals playing D&D, and they're all partying at the same time and cursing and doing their thing. That's what it feels like. And in this issue in particular, they sit down and actually play a version of D&D in the Rat Queens world, which is weird. But there's tons of action. And this issue in particular is very Halloween because they have their own version of werewolves called Moonhounds, which is an amazing name for a werewolf. Moonhound? Moonhound.
That makes sense.
I'm going to start calling werewolves Moonhounds from now on. This issue was awesome, and I think everyone should buy Rat Queens, but nobody buys it off our shelf in comic form. Everyone comes in and buys the trades. So we haven't stocked it for a minute. We're going to test the waters here. If you really love Rat Queens, come buy the comic off the shelf so that we can carry it again in our store. Please, I would love to carry Rat Queens. I love this series, but we need more loyal fans to buy them off the shelf. So please come buy them. They're amazing. That issue is great. If you're looking for a Halloween comic that will knock your socks off, it's that issue of Rat Queens. Take my advice there. Next is You Look Like Death, Tales from the Umbrella Academy. And you can tell from the back with all the drinking and pills on this cover that this series centers around Klaus. And it really is sort of Klaus's origin story and how he fell into a relationship with that rich widower. And what happened there. And so that's what we're getting in this. But we all, as fans, kind of already know part of this story. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. You get Klaus doing what he does, which is heavy drugs and psychedelic stuff. Yeah, you get all of that on top of ghosts and hauntings. So, yeah, it's good. This is what we want out of an Umbrella Academy story. But I will say that Klaus as a character tends to be funny as a side character because he's just such a wild card. And I mean, he's a main character, but he's just a wild card. But him carrying the story feels difficult at times. There are times where I'm like, I wish there were more of the Umbrella Academy in this story. But it's pretty good. And, we wanted more of these on the shelf. So there it is. Issue 2 will be here. I don't recommend you start with issue 2. I don't think you'd be too confused. But issue 1 is still pretty good. And I think we've got a copy or 2 left. You good?
Yeah, good. Okay.
Next is Wow. It's funny. Nicasia, Garney, and Milla. And this is Juggernaut fighting the Hulk. Now, the Hulk has a image issue. Remember, the Hulk was like championed for like a whole 2 days in Immortal Hulk, as the original Hulk was championed. And then, lo and behold, some people got injured, and then people hated him again. And so the Juggernaut also has an image issue. So how do you fix the Juggernaut's image issue?
Memes.
Make him fight the Hulk. Did you just say memes? Right, Stormfront. You make him fight the Hulk. That seems like a good idea, right?
Sure.
No. I know who the Juggernaut is, and I know how tough the Juggernaut is, but let's be honest. The Devil Hulk is probably the strongest iteration of Hulk we've ever seen, and that's not a good idea. I wouldn't go fight an atomic bomb. Juggernaut shouldn't go fight a Hulk. So it's good. It's good. It's good writing. I had a good time with it. I chuckled a couple times. I actually really sort of felt for the Juggernaut quite a bit, which they're humanizing a character that is normally a pretty notorious villain. It's fun to see. I'm really enjoying this story. I will say that this issue in particular is not as strong as the first issue, but still pretty good and totally worth your time. So it'll be on our shelves. Come pick it up. Next is Falcon and Winter Soldier, and there's a lot of moving parts in this story. This is Landy, Vinciti, and Milla. And, it centers around somebody is trying to take the realm of Hydra and become the new Hydra. What's the head Hydra name? Supreme Overlord, I think it is. And it turns out it's a gal that's actually a couple of their friends from back in the day that they see as, well, a relatively good person. And she's looking to rebrand Hydra. Meanwhile, that kid who kicked their butts in like seconds in the first issue, he's still at play in here. And yeah, it's probably not going to play out how you think. Or maybe it will. But there's so much action. I'm not kidding. There is a jetpack mid-air Hydra fight in this issue, which was all types of fun. So for that issue alone, reason alone, I think you should pick up this issue. It was great. I loved it. I laughed. I enjoyed all the action. I will say the writing is not as, it's not an intricate plot line here. Hydra rebranding is pretty funny, but it definitely fits Falcon and Winter Soldier, and you just want to know where they're going with this story. So I'm having a good time jumping on it. Trust me, it's good. Next is something I squealed when I saw. It's Taboo, Jack and Doff. What a name! Taboo, Jack and Doff, Edon, Hannah, and Merva, and we're talking about Werewolf by Night. And why did I squeal, Yogi? What reason did I squeal when I saw this? And
Moon Knight.
Yeah, Moon Knight's origin is a Werewolf by Night issue. So I got all excited. I was like, oh, it's Halloween. We got Werewolf by Night. Maybe we're going to see Moon Knight. And sorry. Yeah, it didn't happen. But you do get a Werewolf by Night story. Werewolf by Night stories are kind of fun. And it really does fit Halloween. Although I still think that the Rat Queen story was a better werewolf story for Halloween. This is pretty good, though. If you are a Werewolf by Night fan, you're probably having fiber issue because you're probably a pretty old dude. But I had a good time with it, and I think everyone should jump in on Werewolf by Night. If for nothing else, maybe Moon Knight will show up later, maybe. But it was good. I had a good time. Next, are you shutting? Oh, okay. Next is Target. Oh, Sax, Villanelli, and Prianto, and this is Star Wars Bounty Hunters. So this is still Valence's life sort of catching up to him. The art is good. The story is, it does feel kind of dialed in at times. You do get some details about Valence's past. I'm still not even sure if I'm pronouncing his weird name right. Let's just call him Terminator in space, because that's really what it feels like. You get some you get some of his past. The art is good. The story, it's kind of lackluster so far. I keep waiting for some twists or turns that feel a lot like I don't know. I want something that feels like Quinlan Voss with Bounty Hunters, and this ain't it. Not yet. So fingers crossed it gets better. It's okay at best. If you're a Star Wars fan, I don't think you'll be disappointed. But if you're coming into Bounty Hunters expecting to see a lot of Mandalorians at play, probably not. Then again, it makes sense. There weren't a lot of Mandalorians were a separate entity, though. There weren't a lot of like them in the Bounty Hunters Guild. You mostly just get fed. Yeah. Next is a book that blew me away for the sheer shock value of this. And I'm saying this as a Garth Ennis fan, okay? This is Remender, La Rosa, and Dionisio, and we're talking about The World's Fate rests with the worst person on it, the Scumbag. And wow. Okay, first of all, let's get the art thing out of the way. The art in this, as gross as it was at times, is top tier. It was really, really good art when you see him taking a dump on the sidewalk trying to shoot up with a heroin. Yeah! It is way over the top. Really good art, but way over the top. The story is insane. It centers around, well, what if the world had to rely on a junkie that accidentally got superpowers? And that's what happens. And he really is the worst person in the world. They set the stage so well. And I tell you, as far as like really dry, sinister punchlines that just kick you in the teeth, the Scumbag character can belt out with them. He can throw down an insult like nobody's business, and it shows. I want to know so much more about this character, but my God, if you are someone who is very, very much politically correct, or can't stand like stuff that's a bit over the top, or if you pick up Garth Ennis's The Boys and cringe, you probably should steer clear of Scumbag. Wow, is it over the top? But it's great. I loved it. I had a really good time with it. I laughed multiple times. I was blown away by the art and disgusted. It was awesome. Awesome. So I say don't skip this. I'm not going to make it my pick of the week. It probably should be my pick of the week. But if I put it in my pull of the week box, like it's up front, a kid might pick it up and thumb through it, and I don't want that to happen. So not for kids, for adults, great. Good showing, guys. Next is a book that clearly was damaged at the warehouse, and I cannot see how this could go unnoticed putting it into the box. And that is this issue of Fantastic Four. More importantly, this is the Stanley Lau Art Germ variant that is just thrashed completely. And looks like it has a boot print on it, as far as I can tell. Like that other one. Maybe they hate us out there. Is that what's going on? They're like stomping on one of our books every shipment? Oh, man, Diamond, what the hell? As far as the Fantastic Four issue is concerned, well, the art is really good. The writing's really good. Haven't had too many complaints. This one centers around a new superpowered villain showing up. And, it was kind of cool watching the team fight them. But that wasn't the big deal. That wasn't the thing I cared about. What I cared about for was the old man on the wall who was hanging out on the moon, who just had Uatu, the Watcher, erupt from his eyes. So, yes, Uatu is back in the Marvel Universe, and he's not too happy with what old man Nick Fury's been doing. So, yeah, we get to catch up with Uatu, which is awesome. And that reason alone is totally worth buying this. Granted, it's only a few pages that you get that backstory, but don't skip it. Don't skip it because it's cool and it's setting the stage for something else. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. Trust me on this. Don't skip it. Next is Cantwell, Keifu, and Armada. And we're talking about Iron Man. And God, that cover is amazing. This issue in particular, we talked about the last issue number 1 of Iron Man, feeling sort of like a mid-age crisis, where he's kind of like, well, what can I buy if I can buy all the cars in the world because I'm that rich? Maybe I'll buy an old station wagon because why would I ever drive that? And then he goes back to his roots of wearing an old Iron Man uniform, and Hellcat's in play, which is nice to see her utilized properly because she's a rather funny character. But the first issue was top tier. I loved it. It was great. The second issue is all right. It's all right. Granted, it was a good opening swing, and I want to know where they're going. This issue in particular, we get another good fight. I had a good time with it, and it was okay. But the storyline, at times it felt a little fillery. I want to get back to what was going on with Unicorn, and they sort of do tie it back into that. But this issue, not as strong as the first. If you're expecting it to be, well, they can't all be like come out the box swinging like that. This one's pretty good, though. It's pretty good. It's just not as good as the first. It'll be on our shelf, though. Next is The Menace of Madame Wang, and we're talking about Arrow, guest starring Iron Man, and the Arrow character is already ridiculously OP, like silly levels OP. She can summon other versions of herself in air form and have them flying across town fighting other villains. Like that's wow. And meanwhile, the way she's being trained from Madame Wang, I think is how you pronounce her name, is she's being trained very intricately, and it's kind of not like it's not really tipped off as to whether or not that her mentor is a good guy. Meanwhile, she encounters Tony Stark, who says, like, hey, be careful with how you're doing stuff. Like, don't burn yourself out. And I'm kind of wondering if her mentor is going to turn out to be a bad guy. I don't know. But Arrow is a really, really OP character, and I kind of want to know where they're going. Every time these issues finish, I'm like, wow, I really want to know more. And I think that last issue was like months between when it came out. Like, it was the last issue of Arrow. But before that, there was a huge novel. It was gigantic. So I'm glad she's back, and the art is good, and the story is good. This issue in particular, I had a pretty good time with, better than the last one actually. So don't skip on it. But if you like that Marvel manga stuff, I have a feeling you're pretty much buying Arrow and Swordmaster. And is there one more? There was one more. The girl with the bear.
That was a one shot.
Oh, was it a one shot? Okay.
But I think they're coming off. I think they're all coming back in teams.
Why aren't they doing a Wave book?
They were supposed to.
They were supposed
That's been a
to.
big hype.
And everybody asks about Wave more than Arrow, so I don't. What are they doing? Okay, next is Stranger Things. This is Michael Moreci, Tudor Histov, Chris O'Halloran, and Nate Picos, and it's the Halloween special, which centers around the kids sort of sitting in a tent and telling scary stories. Come on, we've all seen. What was that show on Nickelodeon where they? What was the show on Nickelodeon with the scary story shows?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
The Midnight Society.
Yeah, the Midnight Society. That's what this feels like. It's like a Nickelodeon Are You Afraid of the Dark story. A bunch of kids telling stories and trying not to scare each other. It's pretty good. I liked it. The art, I was kind of on the fence about the art. You guys know me. I'm really sort of an art snob, and if something feels too gritty, then I'm kind of iffy about it. And this felt too gritty for this kind of story. I'm not sure why. Granted, it's supposed to be spooky, but it was all right. As far as a one-shot is concerned, I would say it's a good purchase. So we'll have that on our shelf. Next is Hotline Miami, Camilo Ferrini, and Masagia, The Wildlife, issue number 2. Now, if you've played the Hotline Miami games, they tend to play like a top-down puzzle where you're a hitman trying to assassinate a whole building. And you're sort of rushing through the building, trying not to. And the way it plays out is like a puzzle. You have to figure out how to step from room to room to room to room without getting killed in a very quick way. And oddly enough, that's what this feels like. It feels like that character is sort of trapped in those moments. So good showing, guys. The art is really, really good. I don't know who was the artist. Oh, Ferrini. Or no, it's an image, isn't it? So it might be the artist might be first. It was honestly great. The art is Masiagia. Really, really good. The story, so. But I wasn't expecting a huge in-depth story from Hotline Miami, and so that's not what I didn't get a huge in-depth story. It might have a lot more depth to it as the story fleshes out, but even if it doesn't, that's not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a lot of action and brutality and animal masks. Like, that's all I really want out of this series. And good art. That's good. Here is our damaged copy of TMNT 110. This won't be hitting our shelves. I don't even think we could press that out because it looks like there's like actual damage, rubbing damage on the cover. But what you get in this story is more City of Mutants stuff, which is pretty good. It centers around, a few of the turtles sort of dealing with fallout from Hobbs' guys, the Mutanimals. The Mutanimals is a bit upset at the different gangs of Mutant Town, so they're sort of trying to play behind the scenes and do stuff behind the scenes. That's okay, but hey, do you want a Last Ronin preview? Like several pages of Last Ronin? What? That's in this. And no, we still don't know who the last one standing is, but it was good. It was an Eastman art. It was a layered story, and it really honestly felt like it had kicked off after like the 90s stories. It was great. So if you need that little tiny pull of Last Ronin, come pick this up before it comes out next week, because it does come out next week, right?
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, this is my birthday stream, because my birthday is like on Friday, Saturday, something like that.
Well, Friday, yeah.
So this is my birthday stream. Next is Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Blood, Ahoy Comics. This centers around The Black Dog and Atlas Shrugged, but it's not Atlas Shrugged in the sense that it's Ayn Rand, because I don't like her. These are stories that are loosely inspired by those and then twisted in a certain way, and it's actually really good. As far as a Halloween tale is concerned, I had a good time. It wasn't a complete mind screw. It wasn't like a complete dark gothic horror. It was rather fun at times, but I wasn't disappointed. The art was all right. It was okay. Sometimes Ahoy Comics, I feel like they knock it out of the park with the art, and sometimes I'm on the fence, and this is the second. Next is Spencer Rosenberg Vincetti, and this is 50.LR for Last Remains, and that is The Amazing Spider-Man, and this is a tie-in to what was going on in the last issue, centering around most of the other Spider folks getting infected and Peter fighting back, and really that was caused, I think, by the Totem. Like the Totem decided that they had to be something else at this point. So we're going to kind of see how that plays out. Is it good? Yeah, it's good. It's some of this Last Remain stuff has been really amazing. Even though I was on the fence about the art, I've had a good time with it. And the Remnant, or not the Remnant, is that his name, Remnant? I think that's his name. Revenant? Maybe that's his name. Centipede dude. He's a really creepy villain. Like, I still want to know more. And it turns out I think he's Osborn's kid, we found out.
Another one?
Yeah, no, it's like this. It's like the one who died or something. So I don't know. I can't keep track of all of that at times. But it's good. I wasn't confused reading it. I had a good time. So if you want to jump in on Spider-Man, definitely do it with that issue. Next is Zenoscope. I know when I say Zenoscope, I criticize them from time to time. And this is the Grim Tales of Terror, but I will tell you the Grim Tales of Terror stuff is their best stuff, in my opinion. And honestly, this art for Zenoscope art blew me away, because usually, like, Zenoscope art feels pretty generic at times, and there are times where I pick it up and I'm like, not really a big fan. This time in particular, I had a really good time with it. I don't know what was different. The storyline, well, it's a bunch of Halloween stories that center around a fortune teller who's reading tarot cards, and each one of the tarot cards will tie into the story. So, you know, it's kind of a horror comics trope, but that's not to say it's a bad thing. Had a good time with it, chuckled a couple times. It was a pretty good showing. Next is an amazing book, but again, I'm a fanboy for this franchise. This is Brian Herbert. You already know what it is. If you know it's Frank Herbert or Brian Herbert, you already know. Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson, Dev Pramanik, and Alex Guimarães, and this is Dune, House Atreides. And yeah, that's Paul and Fade on the front. And yes, it does. This actually, that's not Fade. That's Leto. And I mean, that's not Fade. That's Prince. That's King Leto. So that's the young version. I'm sorry, not Paul. But what do you get? Well, you get the origin tales of the Clan Harkonnen and, Leto's tale of him as a child and how he grew up. And so you get all these different pieces in play, as well as a bit of lore about the Dune universe and why they don't use thinking machines beyond, like, humans. That there was a great war that involved AI, so, like, they decided they needed to use humans for those computing tasks. So yeah, you get that. You get a lot of the lore about the different planets. It's a lot of facets, but as a Dune fan, I wasn't confused, and I squealed a few times. As a regular person who hadn't read Dune, I'm not sure that I would get all that. I might be a little confused. So I'm going to tell you, as a Dune fan, I thought it was great. If I was anyone else, I'm not sure you'd entirely follow the story. It might be a good place to jump in. But I'm going to need to ask somebody who doesn't know Dune to read this book and then tell me if they get it. So, yeah. I sat here and schooled Yogi on Dune one night, and it was like someone handed me the King Nerd Scepter, and I just belted out with, like, all the themes of Dune. And it's an awesome series, but again, if you're not into it, I'm not sure. I don't know if it'll confuse you or not. It's good. This was really good. The art was good. The story was good, but a Dune fan. Next is, well, no. This is Venom. We already reviewed Venom. This is just the mainline cover. That's our show for this week. We got all of DC and Marvel comics. We're putting them out tonight. They will all be on our shelves tomorrow. We had issues with the system. We figured it out. It turns out it was Windows Defender and Microsoft screwing us over again. Again. Dang it, Microsoft. But we figured it out. We got our e-commerce system fixed. Everything is hopping and popping. And you will be able to find your books and pay for your books on the system tonight. So, yeah, that's our show for this week. Take care.
All right.
Let me end everything. Later, deuces. How do I end this stream? End stream. End stream.